Hello, people of the internet, and welcome to another First Impressions video. I am here, of course, with the individual who has been with me since the beginning of these First Impression Toku videos. Give it up for Enshohma.
You lucky, lucky people, as you're about to hear my unlucky review. Oh.
So what are we going to be reviewing or / discussing about this time around, Enshohma?
We've done Super Sentai, Galaxy.
Yes.
We've done Ultraman, Geed.
Mm-hmm.
Now we're heading on to the dark, distant corner cousin of those two franchises, I think. No, actually, never mind. That joke got away from me. We're doing Kamen Rider Day, and not just any Kamen Rider, but the latest incarnation of the ongoing franchise, Kamen Rider Build.
Right, the last of the trifecta of popular tokusatsu superhero television franchises.
Right.
And so, much like every one of my videos, I would like to go into our history with the franchise. And so I like to leave for you to go first and tell us how you were introduced to Kamen Rider and what has been your current opinion on the state of the Kamen Rider franchise now.
Well, I wasn't kidding about it, saying it. I was not kidding about stating that this is the most distant of the tokusatsu that I'm most familiar with.
Right, because there are no giant robots or giant monsters in this series.
No, it's not just that. I just don't know Kamen Rider as well as I do Ultraman, Super Sentai, or traditional kaiju. And yeah, you're probably right. There are some giant monsters recurring throughout this franchise, but not enough to warrant my full attention. But not only that, it's just trying to find Kamen Rider in America is hard, and we're talking about before the internet showed up with all its illegal videos, and even then, only recently have been able to watch an episode as it come out weekly. I remember the time when the internet was starting, and the only Kamen Rider video you could find was basically the opening to the original show, and took you like a half an hour to an hour to download it.
Did you at least ever grow up watching Saban's Masked Rider or Kamen Rider Dragon Knight?
I unfortunately never had a chance to see Dragon Knight. I've heard a lot of good things about that series. In fact, from several friends I trust, it's an improvement over its Japanese version. I did grow up with Masked Rider, but I don't remember if Saban's Masked Rider was my first true introduction to Kamen Rider, or if I was familiar with the character beforehand, thanks to a friend trading me a video copy of Ultraman vs. Kamen Rider. I'm also a big fan of Japanese special effects artist, director, and creature designer Keita Amemiya. I'm probably saying his name wrong. But he is best known in the West for the guy behind the Garo franchise. He created the first series. I also created Zeram, but he was also responsible for 2 Kamen Rider movies, Kamen Rider Zo and Kamen Rider J. But if I was to make a safe bet, I think Masked Rider was my first true introduction to Kamen Rider, but I was familiar with the other heroes beforehand. That's why when we got to an episode in Masked Rider where he teamed up with past Kamen Riders, aka an excuse for Saban just to use as much stock footage from that show as possible.
And fuck it up royally by getting all the names mixed up.
Exactly. It's like, right.
I am Amazon!
Yeah, Rider. They got that one right, at least.
It's funny, they went out of their way to take out 2 characters, and yet they kept all their names in.
Yeah.
They got rid of Rider Man because it was a Japanese actor that they couldn't replicate, but they still kept his name in and fucked everything up.
Yeah. The 10
Strong man at your service. I am Masked Warrior Commander Leader.
The funny thing is, though, I think it was a combination of Masked Rider and Ultraman versus Kamen Rider, because I remember getting that movie. It was in pure Japanese, but the eye candy and the stock footage alone was enough to entertain me and my brothers. And of course, it kind of caused a divide between me and my brother Miguel, or Gonzo, I should say, who prefers Kamen Rider over Ultraman, just stylistically. So when we did get to that one episode of Saban's Masked Rider, which was, of course, an American adaptation of
Black RX.
Yes, Black RX. They decided just to use the footage of the multiple Kamen Riders returning, calling them the 10 veteran Kamen Riders.
No, the legendary Masked Rider Warriors.
Okay. Oh, that's what I get for reading stuff off Wikipedia. Oh, this isn't the Saban Masked Rider page. This is Kamen Rider Black RX. I'm such a dummy. Okay. Yeah. Oh, wow. Yeah, this sucks. Okay, but no, when that episode aired in America, me and my brothers actually recognized who these various Kamen Riders were. But I don't think we've ever really properly watched any of the original Kamen Riders until like fairly recently, before the internet really made it big. Really made it a lot easier to access these Japanese shows. Because I remember I got like a bunch of episodes downloaded from a friend of the original Kamen Rider. And then I think my true experience with Kamen Rider, the more recent ones though, were going down to the Asian sides of the Asian towns in throughout Los Angeles. You know, like little Chinatown, Little Tokyo.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and some of the Korean and the heavy Korean places where where they were selling Kamen Rider DVD sets, but these were the more recent Kamen Rider shows, like Kamen Rider 5s or Triple Fives, as some people call them. Kamen Rider Agito. You say Agito, I say Agito.
Agato.
Again.
I say Agito, you say Agato.
Right. I'll say, okay. Kamen Rider Agito. Darn, this podcast is already going down the drains.
Just wrap up your thoughts, damn it.
All right, I grabbed a couple of those box sets because they had optional English titles, and I was very fortunate to... I know these aren't official releases, despite their quality being pretty good, although their English subtitles suck.
Probably from Malaysia.
Yeah, exactly. But no, it was a great way to still watch the full series. And I got myself the complete Kamen Rider Black and Black RX, and I still have those box sets with me to this day. I have the complete series of 5s, but I did not finish watching the third quarter of that series. I do have like the first volume of Agito. Yeah, thank you. I have the first season of Agito, but I did not like that series very much. I'm thinking getting rid of it soon. And I've been checking out some Kamen Rider here and there, but no, it's basically untouched, barely touched no man's land for me. So it's like I'm a big fan of Kamen Rider Black and Black RX. I enjoyed some of the standalone Kamen Rider movies, like Paradise Lost, which is just a fantastic what if story that spun off from 5s. Kamen Rider vs. Ultraman is fun, even though it's really just an extended clip show. The movies from Keita Amiya, Kamen Rider Zo and Kamen Rider J are really good. But yeah, no, not much in the... Oh, Kamen Rider the First, I really do enjoy that movie, even knowing it seems to have a very hate-ridden response from some of the fans, and they prefer the darker sequel a lot more.
I would agree with the majority there, because I just found the first to be very boring.
Okay. I did try watching some of those superhero Taisen movies, but that I don't know. It's the same.
You mean the SHT movies, or as the creator of Gun Caliber likes to call it, shit.
Yes, this from the man who's. Oh yeah, if you don't know what Gun Caliber is, it's a pretty raunchy spoof of Japanese superheroes. So
created by a guy who does not have a very high opinion of current modern day tokusatsu television shows from Toei.
Exactly. It would be like imagine if the South Park creators were Japanese superhero fans and they did not like the current style of Japanese superheroes. Mm-hmm. So yeah, and then you have a good idea what Gun Caliber is, except with better stunt work and live action.
Mm-hmm. So. And on a cheaper budget, surprisingly.
Yeah, exactly. So, although I've noticed we're getting a lot of independently made superheroes and monsters in Japan these days, and more power to them, especially
Absolutely.
Yeah, but no,
And even in where you live, in Los Angeles, with Fujiyama Ichiban.
Oh, yeah, that's totally right. I saw those guys recently at the Japan
World Hero.
Yeah.
Okay. Did you get a chance to talk to any of them?
I said hello, but I had longer conversations with them when they did actual live shows back at the Power Morphicon.
Oh, nice, cool.
This time though,
you know that the guy the main guy who created Fujiyama Ichiban, he was the stunt actor who was Saban's Masked Rider.
I did not know that, and now the more I know, the more I learn.
And knowing is half the battle.
G.I. Raph and Andres. Whatever.
All right.
Okay,
so it looks like a lot of...
This is kind of the Bermuda Triangle of my knowledge of tokusatsu expertise. I will say this off the bat. If I had to pick or choose, I'm a bigger fan of the old school Kamen Riders over their more contemporary, younger versions, but...
Right.
We'll get into that.
Even though while that stuff is very goofy and over the top, at least it remains consistent throughout, unlike what we're about to discuss here.
Yeah, more dramatic.
Right. So with if you haven't seen my review for Kamen Rider 1, the 2016 45th anniversary film that celebrated the origins of the Kamen Rider franchise, which was essentially just a big crossover between the first Kamen Rider, Takeshi Hongo, and Kamen Rider Ghost. My experience with Kamen Rider is also very limited. I first heard about Kamen Rider through Saban's Masked Rider. I didn't watch the show a lot, but I did have 3 action figures from the series, and I did remember the crossover with Power Rangers. And I did recall a little bit of Kamen Rider Dragon Knight. However, I never got around to seeing it a lot, only because it was probably aired around near the end of the 4Kids or Foxbox Saturday morning block, when that was during that time where my sister and I would go to those Saturday school, those Catholic catechism Saturday schools. I'm not sure if you're familiar with that, Raph.
No, I'm not. So especially since I'm a heathen.
But for anyone who is not a Christian or is not technically Catholic, Saturday or Sunday would be the day where you go to a religious school and take classes and learn about the Bible and stuff like that in order to get ready for certain ceremonies when you're at a certain age, like your first communion, your confirmation, stuff like that. So those I always had to go to school during the airing of Kamen Rider Dragon Knight. However, having looked at it a few episodes a couple years ago, I was very impressed with what I saw, and I keep thinking that is the direction that you could easily take Power Rangers in, if you want to make a more dramatic show with some more mature tones. Anyway, it was probably around 2011 I actually seriously got into Kamen Rider through my exposure to the internet, because after watching learning about Super Sentai and Ultraman, I later learned about the third biggest superhero franchise in Japan, and I eventually started with the original Kamen Rider series with what few episodes I could find online. Eventually, I started researching all these shows, and the one that stuck out the most was Amazon. I eventually completed watching Amazon, and I loved it. It is, to this day, my favorite Kamen Rider.
Now, is this the older Amazon or the newer? Okay, good man.
The older.
Yeah, I've seen several episodes of Amazon. It's a lot of fun.
I've seen all. Amazon is probably the only series I've been able to watch to completion. Mm-hmm. I also have the DVD collection of the DVD bootlegs of the original Kamen Rider Black and Black RX. I haven't watched a lot of RX, but I've watched a good chunk, maybe a third of Black, and I love it. I absolutely love the show.
Oh, cool.
Definitely a lot of good old 80s horror and cheesy action. It's amazing. The Heisei series I have not touched at all whatsoever, outside of just one episode of Ryuki and the Kamen Rider 1 movie from last year. So I have been kind of turned away from the Kamen Rider franchise, much like I have been with Super Sentai, mainly because every time I look at a new Kamen Rider series, it feels very toyetic, at least in terms of the designs of the Kamen Riders themselves and their numerous upgrades and alternate forms. However, I am interested in checking out at least the earlier Heisei series, mostly Kuga, which was the first Heisei Kamen Rider series when it made its big return to the television. And I do want to check out Amazon Slate sometime in the future.
When Kamen Rider started, or I should say, when Kamen Rider returned in the late 90s. Or early with Kuga, I should say. I think maybe
Kuga was 2000, I believe.
I was about to correct myself. I was off by 1 year. Hey. Yeah, when it returned in the 2000s, the plan was that Kamen Rider was going to be much darker than the Super Sentai shows of the day.
Right, because they're both Super Sentai and Kamen Rider are both owned by Toei, so it makes sense that you want to at least differentiate both franchises instead of making each of them the exact same thing.
Yes, however, with that said, like at some point that totally changed, and now Kamen Rider is as colorful and as toyetic and as obnoxious as Super Sentai has gotten in recent years, to such a point that it's really hard. It's almost hard to tell which series is which. It's like, I am happy to say that from what we've seen so far, Kamen Rider Build is nowhere near as bad as how do you say it? Q Ranger?
Yeah, Q Ranger.
Q Ranger. That we don't have Galaxy being screamed left and right, but
instead you have best match. Yeah.
Yeah, but it's nowhere near as prolific.
Are you ready?
Oh no, this is a flip mirror world. I'm going to try to talk sense, and you're just going to make the weird noises in the background.
Yeah.
It's not as bad as Q Ranger, but it's its own unique flavor of not working. So.
Say the change.
Okay, we get it. Okay. Knock it off.
That's why that is one of the stylistic choices that I fucking hate about the newer tokusatsu shows, and that is their devices, the gadgets' inability to shut the fuck up.
Yeah, it really takes away from the seriousness of the situation, doesn't it?
Yeah, and I guess we'll go into that. That's one of the biggest issues we had when watching Kamen Rider Build, is the inconsistent tone right out the gate. Inconsistent tone, inconsistent pacing. The pacing was a little bit better handled than in Q Ranger, where Q Ranger tried to introduce a whole lot of shit within one episode.
Oh, definitely.
Here, they kind of gradually introduced certain... What the hell? There's like a big loud announcement, like intercom announcement outside right now. So if that's being picked up on my microphone, I apologize, ladies and gentlemen.
Attention, there are new Kamen Rider toys. You must get them. Evacuate your house. Buy Kamen Rider. Raph, I gotta go. Okay, Andres, see you later.
Hitching.
Poor fool, he just jumped out the window.
So, anyways, to get to what Build is all about, Build kind of has a rather interesting premise for a series, much like a lot of these kinds of shows, where in this particular show, I'm not sure if it's in continuity or not with the previous shows, but from what I've gathered, the Kamen Riders are only in continuity with each other only when it's convenient for the story.
So different from every other superhero in existence right now.
Exactly. So anyways,
let's just, before we continue, let me just say this right off the bat. Let's just completely forget about the sacredness of. Let's just completely forget about the sacred continuity that all these fans in both American and Japanese fiction keep saying, because at this point, if they can make a few bucks, it doesn't matter who crosses over with who. So.
Right. So anyways, in the beginning of this show, we learn that in this universe, Japan, they travel to Mars, they find some ancient alien ruins, they find some piece of technology, which is a big cube. They take it to Earth, someone touches the cube, and the cube activates and creates these three walls, these three barriers that splits Japan into three sections. These three sections eventually kind of pull a violence jack and started making their own governments, and so Japan is kind of almost split into three different countries that have some sort of tension between all three of them as they each try to learn from that alien technology and see if they can weaponize it.
Right. Although to be fair, they still keep in contact with one another, but it's almost like a West Germany, East Germany situation.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It's they're still connected, but they separated by this huge fantastical wall. So a wall that we don't know all the rules about. Because I remember you and I, we asked questions. How can you fly over it? Is there a force field? Can you dig underneath it? It's like, what's the mechanics behind this wall?
And the answer is, fuck you. Hey, here's a new Kamen Rider transformation.
Change go!
Best match!
Right, wait, Change and Go came from that other horrible show. Oh no.
Yeah. Say the change!
Right.
Anyways, so with with this alien technology, there appears a new evil organization called Faust. I kind of like the name, Faust, the devil, Faustian bargain, and all that stuff. So Faust has been kidnapping people, wiping them of their memories, and turning them into monsters known as Smash. Or smashes, but of course the Japanese in the show they never use the plural form of smash because plural doesn't exist in the Japanese language.
Right. It's like the organization has a good name, the monsters do not.
No, I keep thinking of that stupid meme. Well, let me smash, please, Becky.
I'm too old, so I don't understand your young millennial stuff.
Becky used to let me smash, but now she's smashing Ben. Ben is a hoe.
You blasted 90s kid. You're talking gibberish. I don't understand these clicks and whistles that's going on.
Anyways, so these monsters are running about, people are being kidnapped, and a mysterious hero pops out of nowhere. And that hero is Kamen Rider Build. And who is Kamen Rider Build? He is, if I can find his name, Sento Kiryu. Sento Kiryu is an individual who also has no memories. He was being experimented on by Faust, and he somehow escaped and was kind of taken in by what was his name? Soichi Isurugi, who owns a cafe with his daughter, as we like to call it, the crazy clown cafe.
Because that's where all the clowns go to be stupid.
Yes, rather than be fun. They're trying to be funny, but they end up as stupid and annoying.
Right.
So apparently Soichi's daughter, Misora, has the ability to turn smash energy into energy bottles for Sento to use in order for his gimmick to take the spotlight. Kamen Rider Build's gimmick is kind of very similar to Kamen Rider Double's gimmick, in which his body is split in half with two colors. Each color represents a different power set. And so every time he beats up a villain, he's able to purify them, turning them back into humans, and takes that energy from the monsters and turn them into energy bottles thanks to Misora. And so anytime he can shake these bottles, put them into his belt, always uses two bottles at a time to make different combinations of powers. Rabbit, Tank, Gorilla, Diamond, Hawk, Gatling gun. I think one was like a vacuum, the other was like a hedgehog. And it's always kind of like a theme where one is like an animal or some sort of organic thing. The other is a more mechanical theme. And so he's able to use these powers and to try to fight the evil villain Faust and learn the secret of the cube that started this whole mess. And that is pretty much like the basic premise behind Kamen Rider Build, judging based on the 4 episodes that we have seen that have been released to this date as of the time of this recording.
Now, did we even mention the cube in question was Martian in origin?
Yes, we did. I mentioned that they went to Mars, they found the alien technology and brought it to Earth, although it's funny how it takes a while for them to connect all this craziness back to the Martian stuff.
Yeah, at least they did within the span of 4 episodes. Again, on paper, this show doesn't sound too bad, but
right, it sounds very interesting, especially when they have this idea. Within the first episode, it's all about Sento rescuing Ryuga. Ryuga is how would I say this? A fugitive who escaped prison because he was charged with murdering a particular individual.
Now, Andres, the correct terminology is framed for murder.
Right, he was framed for murder, and he was experimented on and almost turned into another monster, but Kamen Rider saved him, and that because he's aiding a person who is a fugitive.
You should
now,
say
the
fugitive.
Government. I did say fugitive.
Oh, not being a hypocritical ass. Never mind.
So now Kamen Rider is considered a fugitive himself by the government for for aiding a fugitive, believing that he is actually innocent. So I'm pretty sure that Ryuga, even though he does not become the secondary Kamen Rider, I'm fairly certain he will become a Kamen Rider because he eventually gets an energy bottle in a particular episode.
Yeah, about those energy bottles. So I think
that's the new collectible thing. Everything since like Kamen Rider, I mean, they've had collectible gimmicks before. I think like I want to say it was Kamen Rider Ryuki, that was the first one that used like the whole card system. However, I started noticing that a lot with Decade and post Decade. I think Decade kind of like marked Kamen Rider Decade, marked the beginning of the more gimmick based Kamen Riders, and it's kind of led to what American fans have referred to as Neo Heisei. That's like their little name for the newer post Decade Kamen Rider shows. Oh, and by the way, I should mention that Kamen Rider Build will technically be the final Heisei Kamen Rider because the Heisei series will be coming to an end very soon.
Excellent. No more Kamen Rider ever again. I am so happy about this.
Actually, that means jack shit because all it means is that the current Japanese emperor is going to step down because he's getting too old for this shit, and a new emperor will show up and make a new name for Japan's history.
I didn't know Japan was ruled by Danny Glover.
Anyways, no, but yes, but fuck you.
Okay.
Anyways, what was your initial impressions from these episodes that we saw?
Well, a bumpy ride until we got to the
fourth episode.
Because similar to Q Ranger, there's a neat concept going on. I was actually surprised that we're going back to alien technology or an alien menace, so to speak. Although in this case, Faust appears to be an organization that simply uses alien technology but is probably completely Earth-based. And knowing most tokusatsu shows, they might introduce the idea of aliens, but they'll never jump on it and will be fighting the same villains for the next 40 to 50 episodes. But no, it was a neat-looking concept. I was all on board for it. But again, the execution just put me off because this series, as you noted, if you've noted, suffers from tonal shifts a lot.
Right.
Yeah, we'll have like the serious revelation that, not that a lot of these monsters, these smashes, are transformed humans, and not all of them make it out alive. And when they do, they're usually horribly handicapped because of it, especially in the memory loss department.
But some of them conveniently keep their memories, like that random mother that Kamen Rider saved, who for some bizarre reason happens to have a lot of information that helps progresses the plot.
Yeah, and money to spare. So
yeah, it's like, oh hey, I happen to own this fishing boat that you could use to escape this base.
Either she's a character created out of pure convenience.
Right, it's contrived writing. There's a lot of contrivances within these 4 episodes that we saw.
Thank you. That's a much better word I was looking for. Either she's a character there, just completely contrived. Contrived.
Yes.
Or it's if they're clever. Although I'm not really looking forward to this because these superhero shows need more allies on the hero side. Especially when we're dealing with the tired plot of, the hero is a fugitive to the public, even knowing that he's clearly not the villains we should be fighting. Again, it's the Peter Parker Spider-Man syndrome. It's like,
But speaking of cliches, there's also the whole deal of, I lost my memory, so I need to find out who I truly am.
Yeah, it's cliche-orama with the show. But either the mother is going to remain an unlikely but welcomed ally, although, a very beneficially contrived one, or it's revealed that she might be some sort of secret villain and that's the only reason she's helping our friends or something.
Considering that she didn't appear in the next episode, I think that was just a one-time thing.
Okay, all right, that's okay. Okay, that's good to know. Insert joke about attractive Japanese MILF here, and I'm done.
All right, so anyways, the other ally that we had was a journalist who Kamen Rider saved at the beginning named Sawa Takigawa. And I guess because she's a journalist, she uses her wits and pure dumb luck to find out that Sentinel is in fact Kamen Rider, and learns of the secret base within the Crazy Clown Cafe.
She's actually a pretty good character, all things considering.
Yeah, but the thing is, like, her main contribution to the team is that she goes out and finds information for the Kamen Rider crew. However, we kind of already have that with Misora, where she has like an alternate identity as being an internet idol. For those who don't know, in Japan, idols are basically talented girls who use their cuteness to sell merchandise, and mainly pop music, J-pop music. And so she's an internet idol. She acts all cutesy, obnoxiously cutesy, which is supposed to be funny because it's the complete opposite of her usual dour personality. And she uses her fans to get information. She pleads for information, and her fans give it to her because they're so smitten with her.
That's not a bad concept, but again, the execution sucks because when we're first introduced to this, it comes out of nowhere to such a point that's like, I think you and I were confused. Is this a new character who just showed up?
Yeah.
and then, of course, they throw in a bunch of cartoon sight gags, which just destroys the verisimilitude of the situation.
Right. But the reason why I bring Misora's alternate persona up is that it kind of makes the journalist feel a bit redundant. Mm-hmm. It's like I'm not sure, like, from a writing standpoint, why you need to have two information brokers.
That is a good point, but at the same time, I would not want to give up the more serious one for the somewhat more abrasive one. I'm talking about the other gal. So,
right, yeah, I would. It's a decent idea for a character. However, Sawa, to me, after she joins the crew, doesn't really do a lot for me personally. She doesn't like stick out that much, and she's only there to go out to do like field missions with Ryuga, I think.
Yeah.
It's like while Build is off fighting monsters, the journalist and the fugitive character just go off and find more information. Mm-hmm. Meanwhile, you have the cafe owner's daughter, making energy bottles for so it's like each of them try to do a certain role, meanwhile acting like a bunch of clowns within that cafe. And so, like, any scene where they're in the cafe, it's usually done for comedy. Like you said, there's a lot of sight gags, a lot of cartoony sound effects.
Yeah, obnoxious editing.
Quick cuts, jump cuts, reaction shots. A lot of it's supposed to be very funny, but it comes off as like someone trying to jingle keys in front of an infant, saying, "Ooh, look at us! We're being wacky, we're being kooky." And you know what? I don't know if this is actually funny for kids, but I guess I know this is mainly targeted at kids. But the fact that we've had a bunch of Kamen Rider shows in the past that have done bits of comedy, that have done bits of drama here and there, and these are things that we have enjoyed in the past. Just look at Amazon, for instance. For me personally, I subjectively did not find any of the comedy in this series funny whatsoever in the least.
I do agree with that completely. I am going to bring up a bit of a tangent, though.
Right.
I've heard this mentioned before, but I think Bennett DeSage, that internet reviewer, crystallized it perfectly. Mm-hmm. Japan is a country that, because of the way its language is, it can't really deliver the same kind of language or grammar-based jokes that we do. And as such, they rely a lot on sight gags and visual humor. And sadly, if you've seen enough anime and more contemporary tokusatsu, sadly, that sort of silly humor doesn't exactly translate to international audiences.
And that's really funny because, like, I would say, like, comedic anime like One Punch Man or My Hero Academia, I find to be incredibly hilarious.
Those are the exception to the rule. Compare that to most anime that's just silly for the sake of silliness, or Super Sentai, which I would say is a more accurate gauge of how Japanese humor is handled. So yes, One Punch Man is great, but then again, those are like real gags with a setup and a great payoff. But then you just have ones where, like, I'm not one of those people who gets alienated every time I see sight gags in anime, but it's like something like Hunter x Hunter, where it's like we're supposed to get humor from characters being horrible to each other and just like huge sight gags. The characters suddenly their heads grow giant size and everything.
Or like that's the kind of thing that I've seen some people have issue with like Full Metal Alchemist.
Yeah, well, again, you keep bringing up the good examples of when the humor does kind of work. Like Full Metal Alchemist, it does the same thing, but it executes it better. One Punch Man and Space Dandy do far better things with their humor. But the vast majority of anime, they just go for sight gags over sight gags over sight gags. Sometimes ruin the situation. And there's way worse examples of tonal shifts than Full Metal Alchemist. The Super Sentai show, however, is a much better version of how bad Japanese humor could get. But with that said, I think you hit it on the nail earlier. This is a show for little kids. And like a poorly written American kids show, they're just throwing in comical relief for the sake of comic relief, even if the comic relief isn't that good to begin with. So
and the thing is, like, it doesn't bother me as much when they do it in anime, because in anime it's animation, so it doesn't really bother me when characters do wacky, insane stuff. But for me, this goes way back to what I said in my review for Deep Sea Monster Raiga way back in 2012, and that is whenever you have characters acting like real actors, live action actors, not animation. When you have actors trying to act like cartoon characters, it always comes off as bizarre and awkward to me. So it just makes it look very awkward and not rather than funny, and it also comes off as obnoxious and weird.
Yeah, that's how I feel about a lot of these lesser animes that nobody remembers. Although I can't think of any good examples. Maybe Gaitama, that weird samurai anime.
Oh, Gintama, yeah.
Gintama,
that's the one with the guy with the white hair and the big dog, right?
Yeah, exactly.
You know that's getting a live-action movie soon?
They're all getting live-action movies. Go on.
Very true.
It's like, give it time. We'll soon get... I'm trying to think of an anime that would never get a live-action version anytime soon.
Golden Boy?
No. Maybe. I don't know.
In other words, Enshohma the movie?
I'm not that lucky. I wish I had half the luck that kid has. No, yeah, I'm trying to think of like the most obscure anime ever that would never get a live action version, but I can't think the titles off the top of my head. So, audience, insert joke here.
All right. The cop-out route.
Yeah, exactly. I'll let them do all the work since they demanded this episode. Kamen Rider loving heathens.
It's also strange, like because I'm part of a Facebook group that's dedicated to Kamen Rider, and so I would see the fans gush over every new episode of Sentai, or mainly Kamen Rider, and so when I see them gush over this stuff, I'm like, really, you enjoy this stuff? But oh well, that's their taste, I guess. More power to you. But anyways, we mentioned that, of course, that the humor does not work for us with Build, and we also mentioned the incredibly drastic tonal shifts, where 1 minute they're very brooding, another minute they're having an emotional moment, another minute they're just they're getting involved in slapstick. And it's always very strange, because it's strange to have like 1 minute you're trying to have a dramatic moment and character development, and next you're just being like goofy cartoon characters. It really doesn't work, and it's very distracting. And every time they abruptly change the tone that drastically, it takes me out. It ruins the immersion factor. It takes me out of like the story and the universe.
You say immersion factor, I say verisimilitude, but it's the same thing. Like, you're trying to keep the reality within the fiction, but the reality within the fiction, the verisimilitude, ruins the immersion process, and it just takes you out completely.
I mean, at least with Q Ranger, I would say it was consistently obnoxious throughout the whole first episode that we saw.
You're dead to me. Get out.
I'd say it was silly the entire time. With Ultraman G'd, it did have a darker premise, but it knew how to be lighthearted, but it knew how to handle when to take things not as seriously.
It was a far more balanced show and much more well executed.
Right. I'm not saying you should be 100% dark and gritty or 100% comedic. I'm saying, like, yeah, moderation is key. You need to have a balance of all these factors. But here it really doesn't handle the transitions between these different tones. And also we also mentioned the editing, the not so much the editing, but the pacing. We criticized Kyuranger for its ridiculously fast fast pacing, as it tried to introduce as many concepts as possible within the span of like 26 minutes. But with Build, it's very inconsistent. Not as bad as Kyuranger, but there are points where it just it leaps forward, jumps ahead to another scene without properly taking the time to explain what just occurred. Like it was, I think it was episode 2 or 3 where Ryuga briefly mentions that there was a girl that he likes, so he goes to see the girl, but the girl is a monster all of a sudden, and now they could save the girl, she's dead now, but at least they got a new power that Ryuga is foreshadowed to use in the future.
Yeah, and she has not been mentioned since as a motivating factor for Ryu. So yeah, again, it's like they do. There are some good dramatic storylines going on here, but it's brought in so quickly that blink and you'll miss it. And I think the unfortunate fate of that one girlfriend is the perfect example of how not to do it in this show.
Yeah, introduce the character only to kill him or her off within that same episode.
Yeah, and in such a fast fashion too, and in between 2 silly scenes. So. It's like, again, you may say Full Metal Alchemist is bad, but...
No, I'm not saying it's bad. I'm saying that there are people who have claimed that they've had issues because of those tonal reasons.
Oh, then let me
I personally enjoy Full Metal Alchemist, specifically Brotherhood, because I've seen more of that.
Then let me shift my anger gaze onto those same people you just mentioned. It's your fault for not knowing bad pacing in Japanese entertainment, you sons of... winkers.
They just don't like dramatic chibi style art shifts in general.
Yeah, well, that, and they have not seen worse examples of it. So,
let's see. There was something I wanted to say, but then you had to come in and root. No, I'm just kidding.
Right.
Let's see. What else?
What do you expect from a pagan who watched Saturday morning cartoons?
I remember. There are portions where we supposedly meet the main villain of the series, Night Rogue. And Night Rogue, he would pop in. He's popped in once to fight Kamen Rider. And even though it seems like he could easily kick his ass, he, for whatever reason, backs out and lets another monster handle the rest of the fight. Which, again, is that weird pacing where it's like, okay, here's a new villain that we haven't introduced yet. So... there you go. Have fun fighting him, Kamen Rider. Meanwhile, I'm going to stand in the background and you're slowly going to forget I'm even there. So the next time you see me, I'm going to be brooding in my secret base. Or again, there was like another character who poisons Kamen Rider, and it's like a cliffhanger. It's like, what's going to happen? And then the new guy just left, and the owner of the cafe conveniently found Kamen Rider passed out in a warehouse, and knew as if he already knew where he was. Yeah, it's like, why didn't you guys finish him? There's already multiple instances where you could have finished him off, but didn't. You just walked away.
Well, I know that particular villain who poisoned him, Blood Stark.
I'm not sure who he was, but I can check right now.
Okay.
Let's see. Oh, yeah, Blood Stark.
Yeah, Blood Stark, that particular villain, he does justify his actions, saying he just likes setting up games. He doesn't like finishing games. But still, that's, again, contrive. That's just contrived writing. It goes back to
the contrived writing, as we previously mentioned.
Yeah, it's nowhere near as bad as some American entertainment where, the heroes are about to finish off the villain, but then the villain runs away, and the heroes just stand there and watch the villain run away. Cough, cough, the strain, cough, cough. Or, have you ever seen that horrible vampire show on FX? Or a TV show where the villain has the upper hand on the hero and doesn't do anything about it. So it's literally I wonder how the actors feel when that kind of contrived writing is happening. Do they go along with it? Do they even recognize it? Or it's like, it's a paycheck, whatever. So extend this...
Totally. Oh, totally, yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
if the villain or the heroes don't kill each other right away, that means that it's going to be more episodes, which means that they're going to have more paychecks in the future.
Yeah.
If it means more work, I doubt that any of these actors will complain.
And I think we can
And also,
say the same...
Japan eats up this stuff,
Yeah. Oh God, I love Japanese entertainment, but when it comes to melodrama, it's my kryptonite. It's like sometimes they can get it right, like the first Lady Snowblood movie. That's a great mix of melodrama and bloody action. Mm-hmm. But then you get Lady Snowblood 2, the sequel to the first movie, which is just nothing but boring melodrama, layered so thick that you just want to rip the DVD and scream at it. So it's like, do something. Your first movie had action sequences every 10 minutes. What the hell's going on here? So, but again, this isn't as bad as Q Ranger. And with that says, I was honest, it was a bumpy road, but it led to something really good happen in the 4th episode.
Yeah. They actually took the time to focus on one individual in particular who was experimented on twice, turn into a monster. This person has a big connection to Ryuga, where he was the guy responsible for bringing Ryuga to Faust. And in the end, they realized that he has a family, and he currently lost all his memories, and will attempt to start a new life with his family and make new memories.
Yeah, but no, the whole episode, the execution was much stronger, the pacing was improved immensely. We still had the stupid opening sequence in the Clown Cafe. Mm-hmm. But after that scene ended, and it was mercifully short compared to the more extended Clown Cafe sequences in the past 3 episodes, it started moving along at a good pace. It was a good mix of the action of the current Kamen Rider era, but with the kind of storytelling of the early Heisei era and some of the older Kamen Rider. And it was weird because throughout the whole episode, and as I joked with you, I was trying not to say anything positive because I was afraid I was going to jinx it right there and then. But it's like every time I thought I was going to go there and do something stupid, it actually executed it well.
Although there was going to be a dramatic reveal that I called out like minutes ahead.
Oh yeah, definitely. So although the fact that we got that dramatic reveal much sooner by episode 4 as opposed to episode 46, which is usually the course for these things.
What? You, my trusted ally, have been working for the villains the whole time? Well, actually, tune in next time to find out.
Yeah. So, but I'm honestly surprised that happened way earlier instead of like 50 episodes of nothing. And then maybe in the last 4 episodes we finally get plot development. But that's the thing, we're still early in this series, so...
Yeah, the last series was like 45 episodes, I think, so we're still got another 41 episodes left to carry this thing out. That's my problem with these shows. This is why I can never fully get into Sentai, Kamen Rider, or any of the past, the pre Ginga Ultraman, and that is those shows are too long for me to get invested in. At least in American shows, they have seasons, so it's like I have an ending to look forward to.
To defend Ultraman, I would say Ultraman is much more bearable because it was a very episodic television series. So you weren't waiting forever to get back to the main point of the story because you had tons of interesting adventures to enjoy until then. Yeah, but
due to the more repetitive nature of Ultraman, that's why I enjoy the newer Ultraman shows that at least keep the shows shorter, where episodes are now capped off at like 26, 25, or 26.
I'll be honest, with Ultraman, I kind of miss the more episodic nature. Well, I don't mind the story arcs they're doing now, and Ultraman Orb and So Far Geet are doing perfectly at it.
And X. X. Ultraman X.
Oh, yeah, Ultraman X had an okay plot. I thought Orb and Geet are doing a better job at it.
Okay.
But at the same time, it would be nice to go back to sort of a mix of the two. Like, we have an overarching story, but a bunch of nice episodic adventures in between, sort of like the first 3 Heisei Ultramen. Yes, I'm also including Tiga. That I'm actually saying something good about Tiga right now. So
good.
Yeah.
You get my approval.
Yeah, Ultraman Gaia did it better, though.
Fuck Guy. I've never seen it, so screw it. It was never shown on American TV, so that's why it automatically sucks.
Oh my! You've only seen the American version, the 4 kids dub of Ultraman Tiga?
No, I
haven't.
Poor,
poor man.
No, I haven't. I own the whole Japanese dub on DVD.
Oh, you poor man! You poor man! You say Tiga, I say Giga. So. But anyways, joking aside, I kind of wish we get a good mix of like a story arc with a lot of episodic adventures. Mm-hmm. Like, okay, getting away from tokusatsu for a moment. Mm-hmm. One show that did a really good job at having a story arc and being with a bunch of standalone adventures in between was this offbeat crime drama that used to air on, I believe it was Fox, called The Mentalist. I'm not going to get into the detail of the plot, but they had an overarching story arc that they dealt with each season. But there was a lot of really good singular adventures in between. So you weren't bored waiting to get back to the main plot, and you definitely weren't frustrated when the main plot was nowhere to be seen or something. Mm-hmm. So, but I'd like to see that return to the world of Ultraman, because I really do miss like the standalone adventures where one moment you have Ultraman fighting against a very high concept science fiction adventure, next moment it's a comedy with yokai or legendary mythical monsters. So although admittedly so far we're in the 11th episode of Geed, and they're really handling their story really well. They're not wasting time at all. Even the episodes that seem to be wasting time doesn't feel too badly, because it's still dedicated to developing the characters we know. Mm-hmm. Super Sentai, on the other hand, there's definitely what not to do in my opinion, because I've seen enough Super Sentai to know that it's like 40 episodes of nothing, and then the main plot shows up in like the first 2 episodes and the last 8 episodes. Mm-hmm. So, and I've rarely seen a Super Sentai show that does an organic, well-paced resolution of its story. There are a few exceptions, but I'm not going to get into it. But again, I'm not too familiar with Kamen Rider, but if the series continues on... I can't tell... Hold on. I can't tell if the 4th episode was a fluke, and that was just something really good after 3 abysmal, unbalanced previous episodes. Uh-huh. And maybe this is why a lot of Kamen Rider fans, they come in for like the candy colors and the obnoxious editing and everything, but then the story actually gets good and focused halfway. I don't know. I guess
that's why XA turned out to be as popular with Western fans as it did.
Yeah, as well as the series that preceded it, Gaim.
Yeah. I've seen a lot of people enjoyed Gaim.
Yeah. I don't know. It's like,
and Gaim did not precede XA. There were like 2 more shows in between.
Really? What were those Kamen Rider shows in between?
Drive and Ghost, and apparently there's a lot of hate towards Ghost.
Wow. Okay. That's another thing. It's like these. I don't know if it's just because these shows are so forgettable, because Kamen Rider is like Super Sentai's cheaper, less noticed cousin. Or if those 2 shows were just so bad that nobody talks to them, because I totally forgot we had Drive and Ghost. Ghostly Drive Game Go.
building the X Gaim, building the X Gaim, driving Ghost.
Awesome. So there you go. I can't wait for. Hold on, just let me have this one joke. Okay. Give me a moment.
Tick tock, tick tock, tick tock, tick tock.
I've lost it. Never mind. No, I can't wait for the next Kamen Rider show. It's going to be called Kamen Rider V3X, Amazon Stronger, Skyrider, Super 1X, ZX, Black RX, Kuga, Agito, Ryoku, 555s, Wizard, Game, Drive, Ghost, Amazons, Forze, oh.
Oh,
so.
No. oh, no.
Right.
So I guess the last thing to talk about is the general aesthetics and the effects and the costumes of the technical aspects of the series.
Okay.
And I will say, I like Kamen Rider Build's design a lot more than X-Aid. For X-Aid, I always found all of their designs to be absolutely atrocious. On top of looking very cheap, looking like they're made out of like plastic, the cartoony eyes, the spiky hair, the stupid looking level 90 gamer level 99 armor, the overly designed Muteki gamer armor. The colors themselves are bright, obnoxious, neon, like pinks, greens, blues, and purples. All the characters look like living Super Soaker Nerf toys. But with a build, I enjoy the swapping pieces. I like the asymmetrical look to the whole thing. It's like a more crazier rendition of the the double concept. With Kamen Rider Double, sure, they do the same thing, but at least it has a very uniform design. Here, it's much more crazier and wackier, and I like the color choices. A lot of the colors balance with each other very well, like purple and yellow, orange and gray, blue and red, brown and white, brown and light blue, white and blue, white and gray. The only one that didn't work for me was like the vacuum one, where it had like this teal color, and it looked really stupid compared to everything else.
Yeah,
although
the comparison to Double Kamen Rider Double is very apt because it's very much that series, except they do take the armor designs a notch up into the silliness level, but it still works really well. And some of the combination costumes actually look really cool. Again, the vacuum cleaner one was the only one I think we both didn't like.
Yeah.
But no, for the most part, I do enjoy these various Kamen Rider designs that our lead hero has. The only thing I don't like, though,
is the belt.
Yeah, thank you for reminding me of the belt. I was going to say I don't like the idea that he's going to get a new form every episode.
Or every 2 episodes.
Yeah, because then we're going to get back into Kamen Rider, oh no.
No.
Where it's like we're going to end up with 200 forms, and it's like, at least here with Kamen Rider Build, we can tell the difference between each form, as opposed to Kamen Rider O's, where you literally need a manual to tell the difference between each form and each power. But at the same time, yeah, that belt, oh my goodness, like good Kamen Rider suit design, really horrible belt. It's like,
the thing is, like, I hate the handle itself. It's like, it's worse that, a lot of these Kamen Riders need to have a little collectible gimmick, like in Q Ranger, it's those little globes. In Ultraman G'd, it's the Ultra capsules. In here, it's those little bottles, and you gotta shake the bottle like some sort of little like a Mexican candy. You gotta shake you put your popsicle stick in the little sugar bottle, shake the bottle so that the sugar can get onto the popsicle stick, and then you can suck on it.
And I'm sorry, it doesn't matter how awesome your superhero is or how cheesy. If they're going to be shaking little toy bottles like that on their way to fight the villain, you've instantly lost all
They're supposed to look very badass as they're slowly walking towards the villain, shaking that bottle. Click, 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 click.
Yeah, can you imagine, like, Zack Snyder's Batman or the Netflix version of The Punisher comes in the room to kill everybody, but before he pulls out a gun or a bat gun?
He takes out the gun and then he shakes the gun.
No, worse. He like shakes like these bright, glowing-in-the-dark maracas.
No, yeah. Or he's got the glow sticks. He's taking out those glow sticks and he's shaking them.
Exactly. So it's like, or worse, the glow sticks are at the end of strings and he's flipping them around. So,
like a raver.
Yeah, exactly. Or it's like he pulls out like a small Winnie the Pooh bank filled with pennies inside, and it's like, shake.
But the thing I also hate is, I can understand the bottles, I guess, but I really don't like the spinning handle. It looks really weird. This is something that Kamen Rider X8 also has. Is like when you have a giant visible handle sticking out of your belt, it kind of, I don't know, it never looks good on the hero, and it just comes off as looking more like a toy, which it is.
Exactly. It's the most toy-looking belt of all, and this is from 2 guys who watched the first episode of XA just to make comparisons. At least there it works because it's supposed to be this cheesy video game gimmick. Retro gamer gimmick, I should say. Forget about cheesy. But here it's like he's supposed to be a scientific Kamen Rider, and he comes in with what looks like the preschool...
A play school toy.
Grinder. Yeah, a preschool monkey grinder.
Dance, a monkey, dance! And you when he's spinning it, you expect polka music to be coming out of that belt.
Exactly. Do 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 do.
Well, you do get
do 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 do.
do 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 do. Best match.
Coming soon from Bandai, Kamen Rider Jack in Box.
Kamen Rider Jakku.
Oh, you just have to make it cool, you horrible sellout.
Well, we already have Ultraman Jack, so it's no big stretch.
Oh, right. So, Kamen Rider lame.
Reimu. Kamen Rider Reimu.
Wow, Linkara's right. Everything stupid does sound better in Japanese.
Super Bado.
Two broke girls. Go. Oh, that's such a horrible show.
Yeah. And that's the thing. I know I said this before, but I fucking hate the constant noises, sound effects, and voice clips that come out of those belts.
Mm-hmm. Again, this is nowhere near as bad as...
I didn't like it in Kamen Rider Double. I didn't like it in Kamen Rider Ghost. I certainly didn't like it here.
You even have problems within Ultraman Geed. So you go, I go.
Yeah.
Oh man. But yeah. It's nowhere near as bad as Q Ranger, but still, it does get distracting. It destroys the verisimilitude and seriousness of the situation. Mm-hmm. But outside the belt and the silly gimmicks and everything, I do like the Kamen Rider suit design itself, even though I'm not a big fan of the character that's inside of him.
Right. So, moving on. Go ahead.
Let's briefly talk about our two separate set of villains, because we have this somewhat dystopian government whose name escapes me at the moment. Mm-hmm. Who are after Ryu. They're
Ryuga.
Right. Yeah. Right. What's say that again?
Ryuga.
Ryu. Banjo. We'll call him Banjo Kazooie. I covered that up pretty well. I mean, that's the ticket. Yeah.
That's the ticket.
Kamen Rider.
Banjo.
Billy. Anyways, yeah, we have two separate sets of villains. We have this dystopian government created from the disaster of the Skywall disaster, as they call it, and then we have Faust itself.
And so the government, one of the dudes behind the government, or at least behind one of the let's see, he's labeled as an aide to the Prime Minister of Toto. Toto is the section where our main protagonists live in, and the main character, this guy, his name is Gentoku Himuro, and he's the guy with like the mustache, the beard, and he's always very like smarmy, and he's very shady looking. So every single scene he's in, he's very shady looking. So I'm thinking he's probably the main villain, or he's meant to be a red herring for the main villain.
Knowing, again, I was kind of burned from Kamen Rider Akito. Mm-hmm. So knowing my luck, he's probably going to turn out to be the main villain. So much so that the Faust organization,
Night Rogue.
Yeah, he'll go... No, he'll take over the Faust organization or destroy it. Mm-hmm. Or he'll become like an evil Kamen Rider and he'll be the main focus of the series. Mm-hmm. But then again, he just reeks of cliches. We've seen this kind of authority dickweed in anime hundreds of times before. Mm-hmm. And what sucks too is... Well, okay, let's get on... Alright, this government, they have a mix of regular foot soldiers who are just police officers, as well as these robots who are referred to as guardians. Mm-hmm. And what's confusing, and I only just found this out until the 4th episode, is that both this dystopian government and Faust, they have their own sets of guardian robots as their henchmen.
Oh yeah, which have very lazy designs.
Yeah, because it's almost impossible to tell which is which. Like, I don't mind robot henchmen who are, dressed in normal clothes. It would be something conservative you would see in the real world. It's like Pat Labor did a good point, like, instead of making elaborate legs for the robots, they covered it with thick rubber pants. Mm-hmm. But it actually worked with those designs. Here, you're right, it does reek of low-budgetness.
Where they just wear a mask and a jumpsuit.
Yeah. And, the sad thing about the Guardians is, okay, first off, they don't make any big difference between the Guardians that work for Faust or the Guardians that work for the government. Mm-hmm. So I can't tell which is which. And as you know, I went into a mini rant in the 3rd episode where, like, why are the government robots helping the monsters? But I can't tell if those were the Faust Guardians or if those were the government robots too stupid to notice the main villain. You know, like sort of a Peter Parker Spider-Man situation where the Daily Bugle will yell at Spider-Man for the crimes of Doc Ock, which doesn't make any sense. Or, wait, no, we're living in modern day times. Everyone blaming Superman for everything bad that happens. There we go. Yeah, so I at least give the bad Guardians black outfits to separate them. Now, with that said, at first I was kind of digging the Guardians. It was nice to see, like, robot henchmen, or just henchmen in general. We got plenty of henchmen in Kamen Rider XA, but I'm not sure about Ghost or Drive. I don't know if they had any henchmen going. But again, the tonal shifts even affects these somewhat intimidating police robots, because we see the Guardians actually hold their own as credible threats, especially the one that becomes a suicide bomber and tries to kill our heroes in the 4th episode. But then you have, like, again, I don't mind giant monsters, but the execution of the show sucks, because at one point in episode 2, I think, our heroes are escaping the Guardians, and they get away from, like, a small number of them. And then we cut to, like, the worst CGI mass army of Guardians I've ever seen.
Oh, yeah, and then they all combine to form some weird, shitty-looking CG robot.
Yeah, it's like, that idea is cool, but the execution was ridiculous, because not only are they coming out goose-stepping, but it's such a terrible CGI effect that it looks like... I'm getting to obscure territory here. It looks as bad as the orc effects from a Mad TV spoof of Lord of the Rings. That's how bad the special effects was, and then it combines into this giant CGI robot, which on its own is a cool design, but it's just kind of crappy looking. It's not that impressive. And it's like, oh, it's funny too, because I was saying to myself, I miss the days when Kamen Rider used to fight giant monsters betrayed by actors in suits. And then guess what happens in the 4th episode?
So, yeah, we actually get something a decent fight with a green screened giant monster.
Yeah, betrayed by an actual guy in a suit, because getting away from the dystopian government, the Faust situation, the Faust organization, our main group of villains, or so I hope. They're actually intriguing. They're very reminiscent of Shocker and all the other evil organizations from the past, but they're also heavily mysterious and possibly not even fully human, because we do know they're using Martian technology to commit their crimes and create these weird cybernetic mutations in the forms of the Smash. But we don't know much about them from that point on, or how powerful they are, or if they're connected to the government in any way. And I do have to admit, I do like the Smash monsters. They do have these neat designs, but at the same time, as we were discussing in the 1st episode and the 2nd episode, they have very conservative suits. It's like the lower half is the same suit. They just add new monster heads or upper halves.
Torsos, The torso, exactly. Arms, and legs are different, but they all have the same legs.
Yeah, and it reminds me a bit of the somewhat lazy monster designs in Go Buster. Like the Megazord was the same robot, except it had a different arm weapon. Only this time, though, they cover it up a lot better. And again, Kamen Rider is a much more low-budget show than Ultraman or Super Sentai. So I do notice they do that trick a lot, where they make the monster suits very very similar to one another, that can switch out parts here and there, as opposed to just recycling the suit completely. But no, other than that, I did like the Smashes. I just don't like the names. The name is horrible. And the 4th episode, that was a really cool monster, that cube-headed transformed human who suddenly grows giant size thanks to the help of Bloodstark. And I was honestly surprised we got a giant fight scene with just an actor integrated into the scene. It wasn't realistic. In fact, the special effects were heavily showing, but it was much more well handled and much more exciting than the giant monster robot fight with the Guardians in the 2nd episode. Right. And again, the two leaders of Faust so far, Bloodstark and Deep Voice, not Ultraman Belial. They are cool in their own right, and I'm kind of interested to see where the mystery goes, but I don't know. Like I said, I hope they tie back to the Martians themselves, but I don't know if it's...
Yeah, because they've been completely forgotten. The whole alien origin of the cube and all this technology has been completely lost so far.
Yeah, and it was only like... They only touched upon it again in the 4th episode. It's like... Yeah, it was funny too, because by the 3rd episode, you and I were going wasn't there Martians in this or something like that? So I don't know. It's like What do you think of the villains? I'm just rambling at this point.
At this point, they're very reminiscent of Shocker, just taking random people and turning them into monsters. Although the idea of turning regular people and turning them into mechanical monsters reminded me a lot of the villains from Gao Gaigar, where that super robot anime where they would just go take characters, take random humans and mutate them into giant monsters, only for Gao Gaigar to show up and purify them in the end.
Yeah, it also reminds me a little bit of the lead character and some of the villains from that cartoon show Generator X.
Right. Rex, Generator Rex.
Yeah. Oh,
Generation X, that's the X-Men comic / failed TV pilot.
yeah, where Emma Frost battled Max Headroom. That was awesome. I don't care what anyone says. Obscure reference. Get it, ladies and gentlemen.
Anyways, yeah, those. Other than that, I like the premise, but so far they don't really stick out that much. Although I did like the voice for Night Rogue.
Yeah, no, it was like very dark and sinister, and it just worked out great. Although it did remind me a bit of oh man, what's his name? The axe-wielding black cyborg general from Dino Thunder.
The axe guy. I really don't know. I don't know at all whatsoever. But
okay.
Other than that, the names of the villains, Bloodstark and Night Rogue, sound a lot like 90s Rob Liefeld comic book characters.
They look like it, too. So, only not as horrible.
To quote Linkara, like Blood Gun and Gun Blood and Gun Gun and Blood Blood.
Blood this and blood that.
Wild this and gun that.
Oh, my goodness. Yeah, this is a kid show.
Although Gun is more like a convention for like anime name for Japanese character names. Gundam, Gunbuster, Gun Caliber.
Mm-hmm. By the way, that Dino Thunder villain I was referring to was Zeltrax.
Oh, okay, that sounds familiar. I only remembered Mesagog.
Yeah. No, Zeltrax, who was the second command, had like a really deep voice, although I think Bloodstark does a better job with it.
All right, and for those who don't know, or those of you who might be listening in Japan, Dino Thunder was adapted from... Damn it, what was Dino Thunder?
Abba
Ranger, yes.
Yeah,
Abba Ranger.
The worst Super Sentai ever.
Aww.
That's right, I ain't gonna say anything nice about nobody. Andres, you're my best friend and I hate you. So...
Thanks, I hate you. I can't stand you either, old chum.
Audience, thank you for listening. You all suck.
You're wonderfully horrible people.
The kaiju genre is flawed, and I enjoy
it. Absolutely, you bastard.
James Earl Jones' filmography should have been better. What a great guy, that dick.
I feel like this is an embodiment of the Kamen Rider Build Show, in that we're sending a lot of mixed messages and crazy tonal shifts.
With that said, though, the fourth episode really boosted up my confidence, and I think I might actually give this one a further try.
Okay.
I'll watch further episodes just to see if it continues that consistency.
Okay, for me, I'm gonna have to give this show a skip. I will say I enjoyed this much more than Q Ranger, but it's the editing, the cartoony editing, and humor that really kill it for me. I can't stand it at all.
I can't stand it.
I had all I can stand, and I can't stand no more.
Oh no, he's gonna eat his spinach, and then just start beating the crap out of every Kamen Rider ever made. You hit Skyrider, and he goes up in the air, and then when he falls back to the ground, he's turned into a turkey with a scarf.
I critique to the finish, cause I eat me spinach.
I'm Kaiju the
Sailor Man. You obviously. You got the beard for it.
That's right. Bluto was a painter once, and you're a sculptor. So.
I mean, you essentially portrayed a Bluto-like character in your brother's short film.
Yeah, oh my goodness, I am Bluto. So you want a painting? Huh? I'll show you a good painting. You're right here.
Who's the most remarkable and extraordinary artist? You, Enshohma. Enshohma the sailor.
Yeah, I would hang out in an island cave with a bunch of giant monsters, wouldn't I? So...
and an Italian two-headed giant.
Yeah. But no, the fourth episode restored enough confidence that I think I'll give this show an extra watch in the next couple episodes. But I'll let you know if it goes back to being as bad as those first 3 episodes.
But yeah, the Japanese comedy I'm not a very big fan of, especially the kind that involves live action characters acting like they're in an animation. It doesn't work for me. To me, it's stupid. I hate it. I wish it would die. And I can't bear it at all. So as long as that stays prevalent in Kamen Rider or Super Sentai, or even if it were to affect Ultraman even, which thankfully it doesn't, I will always give it a pass, because that's something I subjectively I cannot enjoy.
I'm on the Tokusatsu Network, and they just announced the next 2 Kamen Rider shows is Kamen Rider Whoopee Cushion and Kamen Rider Double Take. How do you feel about that, Andres?
I feel like we should play the scene from Arrested Development. Bum 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 ba da 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 dun da dun da dun da 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 dun dun da dun bum.
Oh, and the next Ultraman show is Ultraman Pun.
And now I'm gonna put the scene from The Price is Right. Bum 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 bum.
Yeah. All right. By the way, definitely check out Geed. It's so far been doing really well.
I've been meaning to get back into Geed. I haven't watched any more episodes, but everyone tells me it's great. So I will do that instead. I will stick to what I know best, and that is giant monsters and Ultraman.
Yeah. With that says, though, I will give I'll give Kamen Rider Build a couple more episodes before I decide to tune in and tune out.
So I will not recommend Kamen Rider Build based on my own first impressions. Do you recommend Kamen Rider Build, Raph?
I honestly can't say. I like the 4th episode a lot. Definitely check that out. And if it doesn't grain on your psyche too badly, check out the rest. But other than that, I wouldn't recommend starting from number 1.
Yeah.
Honestly, I don't have much of an opinion of this show. It can go rot. It can go rot in a grave for all I care.
It's really funny because with Kamen Rider, with Sentai, we were on the negative side. With Ultraman, we were on the positive side. With Kamen Rider, we're on the middle. It's pretty much the middle ground, where you can go either way.
Yeah, we've had our good Kamen Riders. We've had our bad Kamen Riders. We have Kamen Riders who broke up with us in a mutual situation. We had other Kamen Riders that tried to claw their eyes out when we started dating other Kamen Riders.
And so now I'll just quote what I mentioned on Facebook, because what I said when I saw the first 3 episodes, I still feel applies to episode 4. The show seriously doesn't know how to keep a consistent pace nor stick to a single tone. It's got a bunch of interesting ideas, but due to the erratic story, it can't focus on any of them. Also, the anime-style editing, in other words, jump cuts, speed-ups, cartoon sight gags, and sound effects, really break the immersion factor and clashes with the slightly grim premise. So, with that said, those have been our thoughts for Kamen Rider, our first impressions on Kamen Rider Build. We hope you've enjoyed this video, and if you'd like to see more of us, just let us know what else you would like to see from Raph and I. I'm sure we'll look at some other obscure monster movies or tokusatsu pieces of media at some point in the future. So
yes, you're right. I don't know what to say.
So where can people
I'm just happy to be here.
Where can people find you, Raph?
They can find me on my official Facebook group, Enshohma Lives. But if you want to see examples of my artwork, go to Enshohma at deviantart.com. I do have a blog, Enshohma's Corner, but there's been no updates there, so might as well not. And I have a YouTube channel, and I'll be posting some content in October, including some podcasts of my own. But other than that, that's pretty much it.
All right, then. Much like Rabbit and Tank, I have a feeling that you and I would be indefinitely, from here on out, best match! Yeah!
Rabbit and Tank? Who's the tank and who's the rabbit?
I don't know. Why don't you tell me, Bluto?
I'm the tank! Yay!
Yeah!
By the way, Andres, I just kidnapped your grandfather and adopted baby, and I'm going to go find treasure. And there's a giant octopus waiting there to entrap you and your girlfriend. The very skinny one who was in The Shining.
Goddamn anime cliches.
So, that's a Popeye reference, you Philistine. Wow, you're too young. Or am I too old?
I see. There's a very confusing bit of a couple of references here.
That's what we're gonna get for not knowing my joke. Take this. Oh, again, ladies and gentlemen, this guy does way better impressions of me. So.
It's a reference. Zing.
Okay, now you're just overdoing it.
Get it? It's a poor imitation of you. Zing.
Okay, I didn't want to do this, but...
It's an external nightmare! Get it? Zing!
Galaxy! 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 Stop me. Galaxy!
So I have been Andres Perez, a.k.a. Kaiju Noir.
And I'm the one and only Raph Enshohma.
And until next time, everybody, take care.
Galaxy!
Yeah!